Welcome back to a very serious review of the iRacing Creator Series. For various reasons, there haven't been any of these videos for like a month at this point, but mostly that was an adherence to my new touching grass policy. But here you can see me actually winning a race here at Las Vegas and doing sick burnouts and stuff. I figured that if I couldn't even win a single race as an apparent former professional in the exact discipline that got me into the IndyCar Pro Series after figuratively and literally throwing up during all the road course qualifying rounds, I figured it would be as much as a monumental failure as the physical policy of motorsport games. At last, it was finally myself on the dais with the next-gen car with the help of Coke driver Nate Stewart, who gave me novel and profound advice for me. You are killing your tires. Lift. Next week was our Indy 500, and in my first interview of the season, I need to proclaim the truth and also drink some coffee.
So the desire to race is there, and we've got these special events, the Creator Series Indy 500 up next. What's your thoughts on that? We know that you really want to get that one.
I do, but there's some people who don't. I was at Sim Gaming Expo over the weekend, and someone explained to me there's a literal conspiracy to prevent me from winning. There's like an alliance to end the Hyperstar and Team i5G. I'm being told I will not win this race. While this race wasn't for points, and this series is for fun and content, it perhaps would have been quite embarrassing to be unable to win this race. Robert Malechka even went as far to say that, quote, your legacy is on the line here, end quote. The cliche of the speedway is that the track chooses the winner. But no legend has ever abounded of a gang of conspirators choosing the loser, that is, until now. The conspirators, as I became to know them, were the Bandit Collective, an extremely secretive group that you can find on Instagram, whom I followed in the lead up to the event. All great conspiracies are secretive by their nature, which is why you clearly adorn your car with their logos to let everyone know a conspiracy is to commence. Their apparent ringleader, Lamp, whom I met at Sim Gaming Expo, even told me in no uncertain terms I would not win this race. Even after this brazen declaration on a Friday night that still remains hazy, he asked me how he could win the Indy 500 on the last lap. Emboldened by 3 fingers of scotch that a conspirator may or may not have bought for me, I explained using 2 mustard packets as cars on a model of the speedway set up by Lamp using ketchup bottles and salt shakers in a hotel bar in Schaumburg, Illinois. To win the race on the last lap, I said simply build a run through turn 4 and draft by just out of the exit to the yard of bricks to win. I don't even know why I told him. It was like how Trotsky demanded his guards keep his assassin alive because Leon Trotsky said, quote, this man has a story to tell. To the surprise of basically nobody, I took pole position for a race in a car and at a track where leading is the last thing you want to do except in the final few laps. Nevertheless, the green flag compels you to press your right foot to the pedal and drive away. Any other action as the pole sitter would be careless and likely junk the field. Usually we would skip ahead in our action when covering a 500, perhaps as much as 50 to 100 miles of skipping. But this wasn't an ordinary race. This was, in fact, the worst Indy 500 I have ever done. I've done too many official iRacing Indy 500s, so my brain remained in try-hard mode. I'd let everyone by because, heaven forbid, we actually remain caution-free, you would need to save fuel. Do not ask me why, in the name of God, I thought this would happen, and come to think of it, I feel like the following would be more likely. The Earth being ejected from the solar system, North Korea becoming the first nation to land on Mars, Mount Fuji erupting and engulfing Japan in ash, a US presidential candidate sweeping the entire electoral college, and myself winning an Olympic gold medal in the sport of judo. There are many other things that are technically not impossible, but don't worry. The divergent event in the form of this devastating crash occurred. TK, Yorit, Hoodie Pete, Punju, and Altaka Man were all involved. Perhaps it was as predictable as lap 1 in Monza all those weeks ago, and we all knew something bad would happen immediately. This crash brought out our first caution of the race. For reasons I wasn't immediately appreciative of, the unsafety Clio was deployed alongside the iRacing safety car. Unfortunately, the unsafety Clio did not deploy in time to be the shepherd dog leading the proverbial sheep away from danger as lap cars raced by, weaving through traffic to get waved by the pace car. A horrific unintended consequence of the session was double file restarts were enabled, harkening back to the days of the 2011 IndyCar series. This was certainly not a vote of confidence by the series organizers for the drivers, because as the race went on, it was clear that a good chunk of the field should probably watch my basic guide to iRacing IndyCar. Ryan L83 led the field to the green flag for 1 or 2 laps, to lead to another 3 or 4 laps under yellow. Dirty Air called out Yorit and another heinous accident followed. Simultaneously, further up the field, a terrible accident occurred towards the entrance of turn 1 and then continued to advance down through the entirety of the corner itself. Micah Mixer was the worst for wear in the accident, cartwheeling down the turn 1 catch fence, which, given the scale of these accidents, is basically an achievement, one that should have rewarded you with more points. Alas for Micah, who I met at the expo, all I can do is show his crash to the sim racing world and make this silly joke. As Micah was a community entry, all community entries had CE affixed to their name. In my race lab overlay, Micah suddenly became CE Mixer, which sounds like the name of a war-weary soldier in the US Army during the Civil War riding back home to his family. Dearest mother, we embarked on one of the great escapades of our time, an internet car race upon the great rectangle of speed and endurance where pixels contend for glory and milk. I prayed that our Lord Almighty would protect me from all that may befell me. But Providence was not on our side. On our 6th revolution of the circuit, we were struck down by a spinning, prancing horse, in an instant becoming entwined between cables and chicken wire. This long, terrible tumble seemed as though it may not end. Do not dwell on these grisly images, mother, for I am well and in good spirits with the boys back in pit lane. Please tell our neighbors that all is well and I'm in safe hands. I long for the days of peace and calm. Please send my love to the family and to the dog. I remain as ever, your loving child, CE Mixer. P.S. Do not fret, mother, for we have 6 fast repairs. In the confusion of the previous caution, Killa Cleo was accidentally waved to the lead, and thus the previous restart was actually just a battle for second. The wave rounds continued as they would for the entire duration of the race. On the restart, it was Ryan L83 who had the jump, and we began swapping back and forth with Kamikaze. But it was on lap 12 where yet another catastrophic accident occurred involving Killa Cleo, B-Roy, Punju, Arrow, Micah CE Mixer, and many others. This was the 3rd caution within the first 12 laps. After short consideration, it was decided that all restarts going forward would be single-file restarts, which, in theory, should have solved many problems with these restarts, but as a longtime veteran in Indy Fixed, I knew that this would eventually still cause problems. This also did not change the reality that for many newcomers to this car, the aero push is very dangerous, as Josh Amos found out here as the car ahead pushed very hard. But don't worry, with our 6-pack of fast repairs, I'm sure the whole field can learn on the fly, right? Internet car racing is a tough sport, where you must make quick decisions on the fly in reaction to cars around you. With that being said, what action would you take here with 15 seconds of time to think? A few laps later, Nick Paik would make car contact at the exit of turn 1, slid on his roll bar, and back onto the circuit in turn 2. Now, despite these previous accidents, race control wisely decided not to throw the yellow flag, so 1, we could actually race, and 2, so viewers wouldn't race to the Just Chatting section of Twitch for their daily entertainment. Finally, the front pack started to resemble an actual Indy 500. Since no one can actually pull away on the speed alone due to the slipstream effect pulling cars in from 1.5 seconds away, my plan was to sit in field map 5, go as long as I could, get draft from lap traffic, and maybe somehow pull away from the field. But then on lap 26, there was once again a wreck on a straightaway. Now, to be fair, while Lamp was moving up the track, the cars did seem to violently hook in a netcode fashion. Nevertheless, that is just the product of the internet racing that we have. Another product of this internet racing is the lack of the fear of God, as multiple drivers once again barreled into the accident scene. This brought out our 4th caution, of which we have so far spent a majority of the race under. With the full fuel stint lasting 29 laps with no saving and a fuel window now open, this forced us to pit. I really didn't want to, but I didn't have a choice. Pitting here is a no-brainer in a normal race, but with the chaos and malevolence of every restart, frankly, I was terrified. Not only was I terrified of the restarts, but I was also terrified of the people taking wave rounds insisting on driving in the middle of the track as close as they could to the other cars. Restarting on lap 31, we had an immediate crash in turn 2, which I once again sincerely thank the series organizers for refusing to throw the yellow and letting us race. Contact from behind causes a car to hit the wall head-on, while encephaloses and L's of the Bandit Collective / the conspiracy to defeat the Hyperstar get together. A few laps later, Matt 212 catches Arrow Wash from a car ahead and hits the turn 1 wall. Miraculously, we finally went long enough without crashing to have green flag pit stops. Owing to not wanting to lead and instead saving fuel on map 5, I went long in my stint, while other cars I had pit earlier peeled off for more fuel and fresh tires. My plan of using lap traffic to pull away seemed to be falling into my lap. There was only one car in front of me that pit the same lap, and even then, I was able to stretch my stint length by a few laps longer. Stuck behind lap cars, I was finally able to make a move to take the lead. Unable to get around the cars that had just come out of the pits in losing time, I decided to pit a lap early, and even then, I had been able to pull a gap in some of the cars behind. On his pit stop, James Early had trouble navigating the pit out in a brief lapse of reason, taking to the left of the track that forms part of the road course, then driving through the grass after realizing a mistake when suddenly, a full course yellow is triggered for reasons I am unable to explain. I did look back in the replay and found nothing out of the ordinary. Either way, this was our 5th caution. Everyone who pitted under green, including myself, cycled to the front as a result, so I wasn't going to complain too much. Then George decided to try out the sport of IndyCar slalom while getting his laps back after burning what was probably their 4th fast repair. I led from the restart, and what do you possibly think happened behind me just like every other restart? With not even a quarter of the lap in, Sparks and TK tangle, together they collect Aerotech and numerous other cars, and that brings out our 6th caution. At the current pace, we're basically averaging a caution every 10 laps, which actually has happened at this track if you remember in the past. We restart again, and Yort has the misfortune of hitting yet another car, although to be fair, it's Graham Poohberry unfortunately making the mistake, which leaves Yort no time to react. At this point in the race, I'm perfectly happy to hit my fuel number, save my tires, because if I actually hit a certain stint length for each, who am I kidding? We are not going green to the end! Because on lap 79, Aiden Pohl runs over B-Roy into the entry of turn 1, marking our 7th caution of the race, and marking the first time I am questioning if I'm counting the correct number of cautions in these text overlays. Restarting on lap 83 means pitting now lets you do 4 full push stints to the end with no fuel saving, so most of the field pit. Or maybe they're just following me because I was in the first IndyCar Pro Series. I don't know, honestly. A number of cars hadn't pit by virtue of having to take fast repairs and thus fueling under previous cautions, so I had to make some moves to get to the front pack, including running side by side with drivers who were proven weapons in my book. The front of the pack was driving us for the last lap, but surprisingly, they were able to all hold it together. Now, in the interest of saving my voice, placating my neighbors, and showing at least some competent driving, I'll leave y'all to it to watch and guess how long the sequence of great exhibitions of driving talent lasts. Well, it lasted for roughly 4 laps. This was caution number 8. A contributing factor to all the accidents was drivers either not understanding restart rules, ignoring restart rules, or not reading your screen that tells you to stay behind another car on a restart. Putty Pete was rattled by these flagrant rule breakers and got loose in turn 1, triggering yet another multi-car crash and the 9th caution of the race. 5 laps after the restart, following a 3-wide short chute pass, predictably ending in carnage, we had our 10th caution of the race before we even hit halfway. We're not even halfway. We're not even halfway! It's 2:30 a.m. These words from Michele Costantini still echo in my mind with every dissatisfactory race I ever enter, and everyone reminds me of it too. It even got so bad that the text chat clearing of penalties would cause the game to lag while spectating, including when I was recording my home footage, as you can see. We're starting on lap 100 and reaching halfway. My Twitch chat asked me if I needed a relief driver, and I sure did. Unfortunately, they were all located at the liquor store and not in my cabinet. Evan Williams, Elijah Craig, Basil Hayden, Henry McKenna, Colonel E.H. Taylor, George Dickel, Jack Daniel of Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, Johnny Walker, and Jose Cuervo. A few laps into the run, I sensed that things were going too well, so I backed out, and it turned out to be correct. Caution number 11 was thrown as one car flipped on its lid after going airborne. This caution happened during a fuel window, so once again, I pit. On the next restart, after over 100 laps and no incidents, my luck had finally run out. I suppose it could have been worse. CE Joey Latrecchiano took the brunt of the crash, and yet another war-weary soldier had to write a letter home. Dearest mother, yet another terrible fate has befallen our unit of community entries, and now I have finally seen the elephant. 416 laps into our circumventing the magnificent rectangle, my machine is launched skyward to the heavens. My car had become the tempest dance that struck our Army of the Potomac on the 2nd of May in the year of our Lord 1864. Our struggle has been long and tiring, mother, and our community entry boys can no longer bear the grueling test of endurance. We stop too much frequently to simply continue with our work and rest our weary minds. Our morale is low, and we are running low on fast repairs in time. No longer do we rise from our slumber when the crew chief calls, "Get ready, going green." Yet we wish for the pace car to exit quickly and remain out of our sights. Send my love to father, and though I've seen the elephant, I shall not let this hamper my resolve to continue. If I shall run out of fast repairs, think of me fondly when you hear the engines roar. Your most affectionate child, CE Latrecchiano. I was forced to tow, and thus immediately putting me 1 lap down and at the risk of going 2 laps down. I was also entirely expecting fewer cautions to be called, or perhaps none at all, meaning we were likely going to have to attempt to get our lap back the hard way. We were fortunate enough to beat out the pace car to remain 1 lap down. I declared in my chat that I will get my lap back at any cost. I once saw a bumper sticker on the internet, which means it's probably entirely fake, that said, "Do not honk at me. My life is worthless and I will kill us both." Well, in my case, do not pinch me. I will wreck us both, and I have 5 fast repairs left to your 2. Ethics and norms are established by the societies we live in. After 12 cautions and barely any time to actually race, I finally decided to adapt to the social norms of this race. When in doubt, press the gas harder. Relax your left leg, leave it to the side. You don't need to strain at covering your brake pedal. Car spinning in front of you in the turns? Who cares? We won't lift. Cars blocking the track and the cattle chute that is the front straightaway? We won't lift. These crashes were not sufficient enough to bring out the yellow flag. So what I did, honestly, was entirely correct. And this following move was the move of a driver who clearly had nothing left to lose. Most of these moves would never work in an Indy fixed race with a decent SOF, so you should basically never attempt a short shoot pass like I'm doing here. While pushing as hard as I could, I made contact with a lead lap car and did a sick wheelie off the turn 4 wall, recovering just in time to avoid a head-on hit with the attenuator. This damaged my front wing, and I began to plow big time, so I had to do a complete 180 with my in-car tools just to compensate. Luckily for the lead lap cars, at last, there appeared to be peace within our racing time. Cars are single file, they're separated, there was never a chance of car... The caution I needed finally happened as this accident was too big to sweep under the rug and continue racing. I immediately told the field to clear the top, and I raced around the top of the track, which at this point in the race, with a dirtier line, I could have in theory crashed. Restarting on lap 141 here meant that pitting was the call to make to do 2 stints of roughly 30 laps. It was also at this point that the series organizers declared that they would, quote, be stingy on pace cars. Knowing this, I knew I was going to have to drive to the front, and fast. Some of my passes were routine. Others, not so much, including this move into turn 3. Coming out of turn 4 behind Lamp, who took a defensive line, I was now in the middle 3 wide between him and Aiden, both part of the conspiracy. I actually thought we might not make it through the corner, but altogether, we came out fine. Into turn 1, Aiden arrow pushed into the wall, and this allowed me the opportunity to perform a short shoot pass. I know I'm breaking my own advice about making passes in the short shoot, although to be honest, when the car you're passing here in this example is off strategy and having to make an extra stop, don't be surprised if I try and do this. A short time later, the 14th caution flag was displayed as Joey Latrecchiano slapped the wall off of turn 1, spun down the access road, back into the track in the path of Micah Dorn, and who in turn spun back down into the path of Punju, sending him into the fence. Of all the cautions this race, this one was actually probably the worst, because with this yellow occurring on lap 160, this race became a dreaded fuel save race. Going green on lap 165 required a 36-lap stint, 7 laps longer than a full push stint. You need to hit a fuel number of 4.87 miles per gallon a lap, or a burn rate of 0.514 gallons a lap. This would not be a fun save. Wait, did I seriously start thinking again that this was a super serious race? Of course there would be more cautions. Nevertheless, I wanted to make sure I feel safe behind people I trusted, and I still made moves on the restart. Behind us they crashed once again, which brought out caution number 15. Now, as nice as the yellows were for fuel saving, it did give an opportunity to pit for fuel and tires and be able to push harder. But again, this is not a normal race, and you would not want to be in the back of the pack. So basically, nobody pitted. Going green with 31 laps to go, the fuel number was 4.7 mpg with a 0.532 gallon burn rate, and I had 16.5 gallons left of fuel. Pitting here would get you the end on a slight save, which makes the following here all the more confounding. Aiden Poole first appears to jump the restart, and then pits under green when he could have pit under the last caution in a pit strategy that frankly defies all rational explanation. The front of the field, including Kamikaze here, was largely content riding in this fuel save train. The fuel save train was derailed after yet another caution on lap 176. At this point, while writing my race notes, I simply wrote, lap 176, crash, I guess. It was the same people wrecking over each other and flying into the catch fence that I couldn't take any more notes. Restarting on lap 180 now required 4.33 mpg per lap, or a burn rate of 0.57 gallons per lap. At this point, I was now only one lap short of full pushing, and I decided it was time to go all out. Making a move for the lead, Kamikaze pulled out of line seemingly unaware of my move and probably not also wanting to be boxed in. The contact we made could have been race ending. The next lap, Lamp made a move that we had laid out with the mustard packets in Schaumburg, making contact with Kamikaze in the process. Deciding he had saved enough fuel, Lamp wanted it all. Out of the pits came Basic Ollie with fresh tires and now one lap down with nothing to lose. Into turn 1, he rolled the high side to reach third in the track. Kamikaze and Lamp entered turn 3 side by side, and fate determined that neither would make it through the corner. A tremendous crash occurred in our 17th caution. The only race I can think that was worse was an iRacing IndyCar Series race in about early 2020 that had 16 cautions at Richmond, which meant half the race was under yellow. And that was probably worse because there are no faster pairs. Restarting in second behind Josh Imos, we worked together to create a buffer for ourselves, but as soon as he was passed by Ryan L83, a moment of opportunity arose to break the draft. For a moment, I actually thought it was going to be possible. It's really rare for this to happen, especially in this track temp, but I figured might as well keep on weaving. Nick Paquin finally managed to slipstream towards me, but by then, our 18th and mercifully last caution was displayed. 5 laps would remain after we started, making the race a shootout to the end. For such occasions, no words can describe the unbridled chaos that can unfold. was finally over. At the yard of bricks, it was myself taking victory in front of Lamp and Basic Ollie. Lamp on fresh tires nearly pulled off the upset, having been forced to pit for repairs, but more importantly having fresh tires to charge up back to the field. Although he fell just short of the mark, he made a great effort to almost win in the end, all thanks to the salt and pepper shakers and mustard packs we used to help him. After all, I did need a story to tell. Hey, you made it. You finally made it to the end of the race. After 60 laps under caution for 18 separate caution periods, you finally made it. Now, the time it took for us to complete the race was 3 hours, 20 minutes, and 25 seconds, which on average, the speed was roughly 149 miles per hour over the entire race, which makes this, if this is real, it makes it the slowest Indy 500 in like decades. I think going back to like 2008 was like the last one that was slower than this. So by definition, this in fact was the worst Indy 500 I have ever driven. But honestly, I knew that going in, and that's not why I'm here, right? The Creator Series, yes, there's a championship to it, and I was certainly trying very hard in the championship, which eventually Kamikaze or Thomas won, and congrats to him. And it was super fun driving with everybody and getting to meet everybody as well, because that's what this series is about. That's what iRacing is about, in my opinion, is having fun. Now, was this 100% fun? No, of course not. But if I truly didn't want to be here, if I truly didn't want to do this race, I would have skipped it. So I took it for what it was. I kind of knew it would be a clusterfuck at the end. Not at just at the end, but like the entire race. But again, I'm doing this for fun. And I got to meet a lot of them at Sim Gaming Expo, including people like Punju, Encephalosis, Els. I met Lamp here as well, who finished second in the race. And we had a Creator Series race there at Sim Gaming Expo. We had, there's the 15 rigs set up, right? If you watched my video about the expo a few weeks ago, where we had an exhibition race with the F4 car at Tsukuba. And as Arrow said at the time, who was there, we had like proximity chat, right? So if any one of us did something stupid to one another, we could just yell at each other, right? Or show a hand gesture of some kind. So, it was fun. In particular, that race, I was racing Panju and B-Roy really hard, and we were having a great battle and just having so much fun, right? And that's why I'm in this series, right? I'm in this series to make content, and I hope everyone understands, like, from the series that, like, I am not trying to denigrate the series in any way. I'm here to have fun, make content, and I'm taking this for what it is, because every round I've had fun in some way. Now, maybe the race didn't go my way, right? But at the very least, I was having fun. And this series will continue in some form or fashion going forward. In a couple weeks' time, there's basically like a mini championship we'll be holding with the F4 car at certain tracks. There's also a planned IndyCar race at Le Mans. I am trying to lobby to make that race no chicanes, because why the hell not? It's currently TBD if I'm going to be doing that. It's kind of up in the air with some other stuff. And I would like to continue, though, and just have fun driving. And for all of you who watch me on Twitch, and for watching these videos on YouTube about the series, I'm really appreciative, and again, hope I can continue this in the future. Now, I know what a lot of people have been asking for, and by a lot of people, I mean, I think just like one or two, but nevertheless, because they've asked, I will do it. They have kept asking me, Brendan, where's the milk photo? We have to have you drinking milk. Well, I guess I'll do it. I really did consider just buying orange juice and giving the proverbial middle finger, but I have always said that if I ever like won the iRacing Top Split 500, I would drink buttermilk. The story goes, if you don't know, like the tradition of drinking milk was that Louis Meyer, after winning one of his 3 Indy 500s, requested a nice glass of buttermilk. Now, I found buttermilk, and you're going to understand why I'm going to be drinking this with a shot glass in a moment, because it does not taste very good. In fact, it is terrible. I'm not sure how Louis Meyer drank the buttermilk. I'm thinking the buttermilk of like the 1930s was a little bit different than ours, so nevertheless, I'll give it a shot. Literally and figuratively. You kind of have to like open this old school, like the milk cartons you get back in like grade school. We'll see how good I'm at still doing that. There we go. Okay. Oh God, it's already. And here we go. This will be the last time I ever drink this stuff, because if you ever have a taste of it, you will understand.